Hello, Canucks fans. Welcome back to another episode of Canucks Conversation brought to you by Bet365. Check out Bet365's 3-goal early payout. When your team goes up 3, you get paid. It's that simple. Download the app today. Must be 19 plus. Please play responsibly. My name is Dave Quadrelli. I am joined by Harman Dial. Wednesday edition of Canucks Conversation. I'm going to say this right off the top before I forget. We've decided to play Family Feud this week. It's an off-season Family Feud. Doesn't count towards our record, but we'd like to keep our skills sharp, so we're hoping to play Family Feud on tomorrow's show, Thursday, June 11th. That's going to be our last show of the week, barring any news, of course. But we would like to play Family Feud tomorrow, and the only way we can play Family Feud tomorrow is if everybody fills out the survey. So if you're listening on podcast, it is in the description. If you're on YouTube, it's in the YouTube live chat. If you're watching on YouTube as well, it'll be in that description as well. Fill out the Family Feud survey. That's how we get our data. That's how we play our Family Feud Fast Money on Thursdays during the season. And right now we're going to play, tomorrow we're going to play as well. Got people checking in from Cabo. Shout out Arjun in our chat. Marquitos is asking if we're going to have a draft party. Do we want to have a draft party? Like, we haven't really talked about this. I don't know.
Yeah, it's not something that we've planned, but if there's demand for it, we can discuss it. See what'll happen.
Is there one of those soccer games happening on the same day though? That's what we got to now watch for.
Oh yeah. What day is the draft? It's the
June 26th is when we'd have a party. A second day party would be so funny. There's like no commentary of what's happening on the actual broadcast. It takes 7 hours, but I'll be watching it. I watch all of day 2.
So there is a World Cup game in Vancouver that day. It's New Zealand, Belgium. So, but it's at 8 p.m. So we could downtown shouldn't be too crazy.
Mission. Draft party in Mission. Everybody take the West Coast Express. We'll have a great time. All right, let's go. Let's get to some actual hockey. We've got lots to talk about. Baggedmilk is going to join the show today to chat with us about the Mike Babcock sideshow that's going on in Edmonton. Do you want to start there, Harm? Let's start with the Babcock stuff, and then we'll get to Cup Final. Okay. Well, then let's bring in Baggedmilk, who joins us courtesy of our friends over at Greta. Lots of great games going on across various sports right now, and Greta's a great spot to watch them. Head on down. They've got the arcade. They've got the bar, and of course, they've got that street food menu. Greta's a great spot. Make it your spot to watch the next game of your choosing. 50 West Cordova Street is the address. Let the games begin. Baggedmilk joins us now, courtesy of Oilers Nation. Bagged, if you were to rank all of the people you work with at Oilers Nation, from hardest working to least hardest working, where would I slot in on your list?
Well, first of all, Jacob, you might as well lose my square. I don't know why my little man isn't showing up. But yeah, if I was making a list, I think that we have a big list of people we could put on that list, Quads. I think, like, in terms of hardest working, I don't know. You got to think about Young Waz. You got to think about some of the folks at Daily Face-Off. You got to think about yourself. What about our boy Ryan Pike at Flames Nation? Come on. Our boy Arun at Leafs Nation? Come on. We've got a bunch of hard workers here. The more interesting list, though, is, Quads, you need to now rank your top 5 of worst Nation Network staff. Live on the air. Go ahead.
Okay, well, I'll do that at a later date. I'll do it in private because you would never publish a list that I give you in private. Only a psychopath would do that. Hey, speaking of which, Mike Babcock, lots of rumors right now around Mike Babcock. Not even rumors, reports, Baggedmilk, around Mike Babcock and the Edmonton Oilers right now. I guess we're going to ask a ton of questions. We're going to talk about a ton of different angles because there's been updates that came down the pipeline today. But what was your initial reaction when you saw the report from Darren Dreger?
Well, I think, boys, if I remember right, the last time I was on your show, I think the best way to think about the Edmonton Oilers is that whatever you expect them to do something right, just know they're going to do the opposite of that. So when they started talking about Bruce Cassidy as like an option, it made sense. You could follow it through. You go, okay, that guy's had recent success. He's had, he's got the cup ring. Obviously, that experience matters to them. It made sense. Obviously, Vegas isn't letting Bruce come out to play, which is unfortunate. So they had to come up with a plan B. But I assume the plan B would be literally anyone other than Mike Babcock. I mean, we're talking about a guy who, yes, the resume is impressive. I'm not going to pretend it's not. He's got Olympic golds. He's got the Stanley Cup. He's got something like 700 wins, 1,300 games coached. Like, there's a lot there that you could say, okay, that makes sense in a way. Until you remember that, well, that Cup win came with a Detroit Red Wings team that had a bunch of Hall of Famers on it, right? His time in Toronto did not go well. Hasn't coached in the NHL since 2019. Hasn't won a playoff series since 2013. His last attempt, hey, there I am. His last attempt at coaching ended before it even started. So I don't even know how this was an option. If you read it and I don't expect anybody listening to this to read this, but at OilersNation.com, Jason Gregor wrote a story about why this is dumb that his name was even an option. And that's when Bob Stauffer started floating it a handful of weeks ago. So I was stunned, to answer the question directly. I did not think that Mike Babcock's name would come up. I thought that they would pick literally anyone other than that. I thought they would soften their stance on needing a cup ring. I thought they would soften their stance on being like a hard ass kind of guy. I don't know what they're thinking, but it's the most Oilers decision ever. I don't know why I'm surprised when I probably shouldn't have been.
One of my first reactions and questions that I had in the aftermath of these reports is, all right, a lot of people are understandably dunking on Oilers management, Oilers ownership. But to me, thinking through this, there's no way the Oilers would be this deep into the process of potentially hiring Mike Babcock without McDavid and Draisaitl and that leadership group green lighting the idea. Like, to me, if the players felt uncomfortable or didn't want this, I bet they could have stopped this given how much they mean to the organization. The relationship between Jeff Jackson, the president / CEO of the team, and Connor McDavid, with Jackson, of course, being McDavid's former agent. And the other angle that I suddenly remembered in all of this is Zach Hyman is obviously a huge part of this leadership group. And someone actually, I had a conversation with somebody around the league about this today. Hyman and his family own the Brantford Bulls in the OHL. Literally 5 days ago, the Bulldogs hired Mike Babcock's son, Michael, as their head coach.
Yep.
Zach Hyman is the owner of that team.
Hold on. And he named his son Michael?
You got it.
Yes.
Holy smokes. Okay. I got something to add to my Mike Babcock bit. Okay, sorry, go on, Harm.
And so, like, you think about, all right, Zach Hyman is clearly a fan of that from that hiring, and also just you think about the individual trajectory. Hyman went from being a middling AHL scorer to a first-line NHLer under Mike Babcock when they were together in the Toronto Maple Leafs. So the way I'm viewing this is, everybody's dunking on management and ownership, and rightfully so. This would be a very puzzling, questionable hire. But the almost bigger surprise to me is that it seems like this Oilers leadership group is all on board. How do you read it?
See, it seems like it. I mean, doesn't matter the insider you're of choice or, Bob Stauffer here in Edmonton. He's saying essentially exactly what you said, Harm, that the players were consulted. They, it was reported, I think Mark Spector, something like that, said that the players grilled Babcock in that meeting and they came out of it thinking, okay, this might work. But at the same point, the story of the players kind of making some decisions behind the scenes has been going on for so long in Edmonton that it's not surprising to hear that. But they've also got, hey, look at me, there I go. I made that just for you guys today. Ultimately, the players have made bad decisions in the past. And the one that immediately jumped into my mind as you were speaking was the Zach Kassian extension that happened for way too much money. And it was reported that he was tight with that group, with the leadership group, and they really put kind of their best foot forward for him to sign an extension. The Oilers had to pay to get rid of it. It's another one of those things where it's like, okay, yeah, I'm glad that the players would be on board with it, but sometimes you have to take the decision out of their hands because they're in it. And sometimes when you're in it, you don't always think clearly about the situation or what you think you need or know what you need. So, yeah, I think consulting the players makes a lot of sense, but letting them drive the decision, I don't know necessarily that I agree with it. Because here's the reality, guys, is like I said, the last time he even won a round in the playoffs, the core guys you're talking about weren't even in the NHL. Most of them weren't even drafted. So it's kind of like, yeah, okay, he's got some success a long time ago, but somebody give me something since Bitcoin was invented, you know?
Yeah.
He hasn't done anything since 2008 of any real success. And, again, the gold medals, yes, great. I watched those teams too. I was cheering. I was up in the middle of the night. I was having beers. I was there. But, Team Canada. Me and Quads and Harm, we could be back there. We could run a Team Canada at the Olympics and have a reasonable chance at a gold medal. I feel like that in my heart of hearts, the three of us could put that together. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just being super cynical and it'll work out, but it's hard to see a bright side in what the Oilers are doing. They just constantly make the wrong decisions. They constantly draw so much unnecessary noise towards the franchise. They constantly put their players, staff, whoever in a situation to answer questions that don't make any sense. And it's like Stan Bowman hiring Mike Babcock. It's like, what's going on here? I don't get it. I have no polish for this. So if you're expecting me to have rose-colored glasses about Mike Babcock coming in, I just don't. I can't. It's so weird. It is so weird.
Further to this, first of all, I was laughing my ass off at Mike Babcock, who speaks in the third person, by the way, about
himself.
Lot. Mike Babcock, hey, you ask this guy how he feels about Mike Babcock. He named his son Mike Babcock Jr. That's the most Mike Babcock story I've ever heard. This guy's an egomaniac at his core. And I would just also point to what Mike Commodore said yesterday on our pal Jason Greger's show. Yesterday, Commodore was on Greger's show, and he highlighted the fact that, it's great that the Oilers leadership group is on board. Those guys are going to be treated like kings. It's the third liners. It's the fourth liners. It's the arena staff who apparently are getting it from Mike Babcock, as Johan Franzen and Chelios both on the record talking about him just mistreating janitors. This guy's a prick. He's an absolute bully. This needs to go away. It's just so funny to me. It's so funny. And I'll little inside baseball. Before the Canucks went to Bruce Boudreau, do you remember that Mike Babcock's name was floated out there? And I was so against it right away. You're going to hire a guy who has this kind of track record where every stop along the way, there's just these ideas of emotional abuse and just straight up bullying of people who just don't deserve it. Not that players deserve it, but players are paid millions of dollars. We're talking arena staffers that are on hourly wages getting it from Mike Babcock. Up yours, dude. There's enough of this. This is ridiculous. I don't want to hear about it anymore. And I'd also point to this from Frank Saravelli today as well, that the reason he resigned in Columbus wasn't the phone thing. There's something else that wasn't reported that the NHL knows about. Are you kidding me? At this point, the Oilers have to just say they got to take their lumps and they have to say, you know what, we're not actually interested in hiring Mike Babcock, because the NHL and the NHLPA have made it clear that they're waiting on word from the Oilers. Do you want to do this? Because if you do, we will start our investigation. The Oilers have to just take their lumps here, go home and just say, you know what, no, we're not going to do this. We're not going to go down this road. It seemed like there was a gentleman's agreement that this guy, I've called him enough names, would stay away from the game. Now they want to test it. The Oilers want to test it and see, hey, maybe we'll do it. Okay, ball's in your court, Edmonton. If you go ahead and say, okay, yeah, we want to hire Mike Babcock, I'm itching to find out what other thing happened in Columbus that was apparently more of a big deal than the phone thing, which is what we've all thought for years was what got him, what made him resign in Columbus. There's something else? There's something else out there now? This would just be a disaster. So I know I've been talking for a while, but my question to you, Baggedmilk, is if the Oilers do what I just said, right? If they do what I just said and just walk away from it and say this was a disaster, we didn't expect this to happen. Kind of reminds me of what happened when Pierre Dorian's name got floated out for the Canucks. Everybody lost their minds. The Canucks were whoa, we're not serious about that. Don't worry. If they do that, does Stan Bowman lose his job? Because now this is Cassidy, and I know that's kind of out of his hands, but the way it happened, the way they had to fire Chris Knobloch because it leaked that they were interested in Cassidy, and I guess we'll fire the coach. You fumble that situation. Now you fumble this one. Like, not to mention all the disastrous moves that have happened before. Like, does Stan Bowman keep his job beyond this offseason, do you think, if this goes south?
So it's what I think versus what I think should happen. And Quads, like, I totally agree with what you said. They should stop this and go, whoa, didn't know that this investigation would have to get kicked up. This is, you know what? We'll take our lumps on this. We're not going forward with it. Like, that's the rational thing to do. But this is the Edmonton Oilers. They're going to double down on it. They're going to make this go through. They're going to find a way to push this through. It's going to blow up in their face somehow because they always act like they're the smartest people in the room. So if they want Mike Babcock, and that's a decision they've made, and I encourage anyone listening to this, if you want to chuckle because it made me laugh, go listen to Bob Stauffer's opening salvo from like Oilers Now. I guess that would have been Monday-ish. It's hilarious. It's basically a 10-minute love letter to Mike Babcock. So this is happening one way or another. And the Oilers are going to make it happen because, again, they think they're the smartest in the room and they always have. So I think that's still going to happen. Do I think Stan Bowman's going to lose his job? I don't think that's going to happen either. I thought he should lose his job after the Tristan Jarry trade. But again, the Oilers doing the normal thing that a successful organization would do doesn't always or ever happen all that often. So I don't know, man. I just still think it's going to be Mike Babcock behind the bench in October, and they're going to have to take whatever lumps they need to take with the league, with the PA, with to make it happen. I just think they're such a stubborn organization that they're going to find a way to get their guy to prove a point, even though their point is deeply flawed.
I think as a general rule of thumb, if the NHLPA is having to plead to the league to open an investigation on a guy you want to hire, then hey, maybe we shouldn't hire this guy. Maybe this isn't such a great idea. Just as if Edmonton needs more storylines and potential distractions for next season. Like, yeah, he's a bully. He's a bad human being. Like, even if those things weren't true, just all the baggage that he has to this point, like, you think about the Oilers, how much pressure is on them next season, the understanding, whether it's right or not, that many are speculating, hey, next season is make or break for McDavid's future. And on top of that, you have a coach coming in that the NHLPA clearly hates, that half the league doesn't like, that is like polarizing across the entire sport. You're gonna alienate basically the entire hockey world outside of Edmonton. Like, why would you put this upon yourselves? But anyway, putting that aside, we've mentioned his name a couple times, Bruce Cassidy. It all kind of stems from there, because I think we can presume if Vegas had granted Cassidy permission to speak to the Oilers, there's probably a decent chance that Cassidy is a front runner for this job instead of Mike Babcock. Where do you stand on Vegas deciding, hey, we're not going to grant Cassidy permission to talk to not only the Oilers, but also the Kings, basically any other team in the NHL? Where I was talking to somebody in the league, and they kind of pointed out two things can be true at the same time. A, it's a scumbag move by Vegas, right? You fired the guy, let him be free and coach. But it's also true that if you're a coach in that situation, you should negotiate a better out clause in your contract if you've been fired. Like, it's explicitly written in his contract that Vegas has this power. And this is where a lot of coaches don't hire agents to handle their contracts. And sure, you save on the 2% fee or whatever, but this is where it maybe sometimes leaves you exposed. And as much as, yeah, you feel for Bruce Cassidy not being able to immediately go where he wants, at the end of the day, he is still being paid millions of dollars to do nothing right now. Where do you stand on how Vegas approached this situation and Edmonton ultimately not even really getting the chance to interview him?
Yeah, I mean, I think about it two different ways. I think about it as an Oilers fan, and I think about it as somebody who just kind of likes the chaos of the situation. So as an Oilers fan, obviously annoying, because if Vegas had just said, yeah, we fired Bruce Cassidy, you can chat with him, we probably would have already had a press conference by now. The Oilers probably would have had him in town. We would have done the whole song and dance. Everybody would have said, yeah, Bruce, let's go. And then we would have moved on. But that's obviously not what's happening. So that's super annoying to me as an Oilers fan. But on the flip side, as somebody who really likes chaos, I kind of respect it. If they're going to bury $4 million, $4.5 million on their books just to keep this guy they fired away from divisional rivals, it's wrestling to me. It's like a very heel move and something that's very befitting of the Vegas Golden Knights. They don't care. They're ruthless, and they will do whatever it takes to kind of give themselves an advantage. So in one way, I kind of respect it just for being so ruthless. They're like, yeah, we're going to pay him for a year, and he's just going to, him and Chris Knobloch are going to go for breakfast. They're going to get paid by their former NHL teams. They're going to have the best summer ever. It's going to be a hot boy summer for those two former NHL coaches. It's just, how do you blend the two, right? Like, the Oilers fans annoyed, but on part of me, for the entertainment value of it, it's kind of funny. But at the same point, the human element, Bruce wants to work. He did his media tour. He was on Spit and Chicklets. He did the whole thing. He wants to work. So I feel for him as a human, but there's no clean outcome. Gary Bettman and what's his name there, Chuckles beside him there for media day before the Stanley Cup, they kind of said, yeah, it is what it is. It's in his contract. Other guys don't have this contract, but he does. So, Harm, to your point, hey, man, the language in your paperwork is the language in your paperwork. Either you signed it and didn't read it, or you read it and knew it was there. So I just think that there's fingers to be pointed all over the place, but it's annoying. It's annoying because if Vegas had just said, yeah, go to Bruce all you want, I wouldn't even have to be on this show right now talking about Mike Babcock. I forgot about Mike Babcock. I don't want to see Mike Babcock, but here we are. And as soon as the news comes out, I get a little text from Quads. By the way, Quads, I'm going to need to look at your phone. Asking me to come on. And I already knew what you guys wanted to talk about. None of it was going to be good. And it's because the Oilers can't do normal things for even a minute. They just can't. It's impossible. So here I am talking about it again. It would have been nice if I had Bruce Cassidy, and then you would come on and be like, what kind of tactical changes do you think Bruce Cassidy's going to make? Not, hey, what kind of list is Mike Babcock going to make Trent Frederick do in front of his teammates? You know, it's ridiculous. The whole thing is ridiculous. There's no one to blame but the Oilers. They put themselves in this spot. Vegas is a hurdle. They didn't even wait till the Cup final was over. They didn't even wait. I know you want to coach ahead the draft, ahead of free agency. All that makes sense to me. But like, in reality, boys, like, we got another week left in this thing. You could have seen, like, if once it's over, and then if Kelly McCrimmon really said, no way, we're going to pay Bruce Cassidy for another year, you have to wait. Okay, because nobody was chasing Mike Babcock. He could have been there on October 1st if you needed a coach, and he would have been like, here I am, ready to go. They didn't have to do this at this point. So I just think everything about it is odd. Right down from how Vegas handled Bruce Cassidy to where we're at today, talking about one of the strangest managerial choices that I can remember in a long, long time.
Hey, more of a league-wide question for you. We have heard the last week or so Dylan Larkin wants out, requesting a trade from Detroit, and it's kind of following a bit of a pattern over the last 2 or 3 years where star players starting to call their shot and pick their destination a little bit more, and they're just, broadly speaking, the league's in a really interesting spot with a number of superstar players. We all know about the McDavid situation. I won't go down that road. That situation probably isn't coming to a head this summer anyway. But Austin Matthews in Toronto, but also a lot of speculation around Brady Tkachuk in Ottawa. And I even think about a guy like Zach Werenski. Werenski is about to enter the final year of his contract. Columbus, similar spot as Detroit, where they've been rebuilding for a while, trying to get over the hump. And hey, guess what? You think about the domino effect of Quinn Hughes, Michigan guy, says he wants out, gets traded to Minnesota. Well, Quinn Hughes is also really good buddies with Dylan Larkin, who's also from Michigan. Larkin's now requested this move. And Zach Werenski's really good buddies with Dylan Larkin. Again, all this Michigan group. So then you also got Connor Hellebuck in Winnipeg at the end of the season expressing a lot of frustration with the state of his team, and he's getting up there in age. Like, are you expecting there to be some serious fireworks this summer in terms of star player movement, or do you think this is similar to summers in the past where sometimes we get a little bit too ahead of ourselves and too excited with, oh, this is the summer where we're going to see a bunch of fireworks, only for there to not really be a bunch of fireworks?
I hope there's fireworks. I mean, we almost kind of need them, don't we, boys? Looking at the free agent class, it's not like we got a real deep pool happening over there. So I'm hopeful for trades. It's interesting, though, when you have trade protection like a guy like Dylan Larkin where he can call his shots, right? Like, there's 3 teams that he said, and all 3 of them, at least from my perspective, and maybe yours, I don't know, can't speak for you, all 3 are terrible options for me personally. And at the end of the day, Dylan Larkin's trade decision all comes down to how it affects me personally. So it's interesting because it even reminds me of Marty St. Louis back in the day when he wanted to get traded out of Tampa. And he goes, you can trade me to the Rangers. And they're like, okay, what about these other teams? He goes, no, you can trade me to the Rangers. And they're just kind of in a spot where, what do you do with that? So if you're Steve Yzerman, by the way, fraud. If you're Steve Yzerman and you have to trade Dylan Larkin, like, you got to get the best deal you can. But if you're any of those 3 teams, why do you offer a whole bunch, provided that you've got the cap space to make it work? So I'm hopeful to see some trades. It kind of sucks that when a guy has a full no move and he asks for a trade, he can limit it to that. I wish there was some kind of language in the CBA where there was more optionality for the teams in that situation, where they could kind of move some, like maybe add, a couple other teams on the list just to make it interesting. But it is what it is. To answer your other question, Brady Tkachuk, I'm counting the days until he gets traded out of Ottawa. I just feel like it seems mission accompli that he's going to be out of there. Some of the other guys you mentioned too. So it's going to be a really interesting summer. I don't know how many of those guys will get moved this summer, but I hope somebody does. I hope none of them are to Vegas, Florida, or even Minnesota. They're getting too good. Their powers are too strong, and it's quite frankly annoying. But I'm hopeful we see some big moves. I'd feel terrible for Jets fans if Connor Hellebuck left. Like, that would be a massive blow for them. But it'd be exciting for the rest of us. It'd be exciting for those of us who look at the league and kind of talk about it on a daily basis and hope for something exciting to happen. So in that sense, yeah, you hope that it doesn't backfire and your team does something stupid, Edmonton Oilers. But it's exciting. And if you're a fan of the chaos, like I'm kind of turning in to be with this Oilers situation just going completely off the rails, then I hope so. I hope it's the summer of trades. I hope that some of these big names get moved, and I'd love to see the returns that those teams get and argue about it for years to come. That would make for an interesting offseason because free agency ain't going to be it this year. So I'm hopeful. Bring on the trades.
Teddy Bluger, number 1 center available with Michael McCarron off the board. Bagged Milk, thanks so much for doing this, man. We appreciate it. We like having you on, especially anytime the Oilers make headlines league-wide. So we appreciate you coming on and giving your perspective, man.
Yeah, anytime, boys. It'd be nice if they did something right for once, and you want to ask me about that, but I don't expect to be on here anytime they do something right. Quads, need to see your phone. Talk to you guys later.
All right. Thanks, Bagged Milk. There he is. Oilers Nation, check out his work. And also, I did also want to mention there's some really good editorial up now at OilersNation.com that people should be checking out. I read one from Gregor yesterday titled, "Why Are the Oilers Even Considering Mike Babcock?" Headline says it all, but the article is really good too. Jason Gregor, you can go read that, OilersNation.com. It is baffling, right? Like, it really is baffling that they're going down this road. And I'll ask you the same question I asked Bagged Milk. If this goes down the road of the Oilers have to back out of it and this one blows up in their face too, does Sam Bowman keep his job, do you think?
I don't think he'll have to pay for it. It's similar to what Bagged Milk was saying, where there's a difference between what they should do and what we think they'll actually do. I'm right there with Bagged Milk. Stan Bowman, well, first of all, I wouldn't have hired Stan Bowman as general manager in the first place. And certainly after looking at the last couple of years, I would have fired him this summer and brought somebody else in. But clearly that's not what they're doing. And especially with some of the rumors and reports coming out recently about how a lot of this Babcock push has apparently been from ownership as well, starting from the very top. In that case, I don't expect Stan Bowman to necessarily pay the price for it, especially this summer. Now, different conversation if the Oilers stumble out of the gate next season, and we're speculating about McDavid potentially leaving Edmonton. But right now, this summer, I don't expect Stan Bowman's going to have to pay the price with his job if they ultimately back out. But I also don't think that they're going to back out unless the pushback from the PA and the league is so strong to where it's like, okay, we literally can't do this.
But it kind of seems like it is. We're hearing about, there's this separate incident that hasn't been reported yet. You want to air that dirty laundry? Because guess what, Harm? As soon as here's the reporting that people missed today that I'm pointing out. It was, there's a separate incident in Columbus that led to him resigning. It wasn't the phone thing that everyone thought it was, right? It's not that. There's something else that was deemed worse that he resigned over. There's that part of it. And then it was the NHLPA is requesting that the NHL do an investigation into it if the Oilers proceed this way. So now the NHL has said to the Oilers, hey, if you want this guy, you have to let us know because we have to do this investigation. When they do that, you would assume that this mystery incident that people are talking about today is going to come to light. Like, that's going to put a whole new... Do you remember how pissed people were about the phone thing? If there's something that was deemed to be worse that is now going to come to light after this investigation, you think this is going to end well for the Oilers? I don't think so. And I get your point. I totally get your point. And I agree with you about the sense of, yeah, if it's ownership, then it's probably not Stan Bowman that's going to lose his job. But this is just such a bad look for the Oilers. I just think you've got to end this
of course it is.
as fast as you can. You've got to end this as fast as you can.
Of course it is. And maybe you're right, but also if all of Mike Babcock's previous baggage didn't already dissuade them, what's one more thing? Unless it's like truly horrific and like, oh my God, there's no way we can look past this. What's one more thing to the Oilers at this stage? If they're already overlooking everything, and the Oilers at this point have a proven history of betting on people with questionable morals and character.
Yeah.
If they believe purely from a hockey standpoint, this person's going to help us win, right? You look at when Evander Kane's contract was terminated with San Jose, half the league probably didn't want to touch the guy, but it was Edmonton that went, we're going to roll the dice anyway because we think he helps us win. The Stan Bowman hire as GM. We all know about the Kyle Beats stuff. Stan Bowman, I would have never hired him as a GM again. Like any team, period. And yet they went, you know what, he's won a Stanley Cup, so we're going to do it anyway. Yeah. So as shocking as it is that, oh my goodness, they're really considering Mike Babcock for this job. If there was one team that was going to go through with it anyway, irrespective of the backlash, it was probably going to be the Oilers all along. And if not the Oilers, I mean, Vegas is probably the other organization that like doesn't really care about the human side and is just ruthless about the winning part. But yeah, I'm really fascinated to see where this goes. And again, I don't understand why you would want to bring another sideshow to your market when the McDavid storyline and his future is already going to take up so much oxygen.
This is a speed run of how to lose a superstar, is what it feels like. We'll see. I feel like I've said enough about Mike Babcock today. I hope I don't have to say more about Mike Babcock. But anyway, all right, let's get to last night's game. Carolina evens up the series in Game 4. They beat the Vegas Golden Knights by a final score of 5-3. Jordan Staal scores the game-winning goal, 6:32 into the third period. Man, this one, like, this Stanley Cup Final's been so good, right? You had Carolina jump out to the 2-0 lead. I want to have a conversation about Jackson Blake, but I want to save it for anyone else because I think he might have cost himself millions and millions of dollars. But it's an interesting conversation that I want to have during anyone else, so we'll save the Jackson Blake conversation. But you get goals from Stankoven, you get goals from Jackson Blake. They're up 3-1 at the end of the first period. Vegas storms back because, of course, they did. They tie it up. in the second period, heading into the third, this game's tied. Jordan Staal, longtime Hurricane, of course, scores the goal to give them the win. Nikolai Ehlers adds an empty netter.
Yeah, right off the bat, this feels like the hockey gods paying the Hurricanes back after such a rough ending to Game 3. This felt like a game where Carolina got bounces. Not only the Jordan Staal power play goal where Gostisbehere's shot from distance bounces first off a Vegas defender directly onto Stahl's stick, but also the Vegas buzzer beater at the end of the first period that didn't count. How different would this game have potentially been if Vegas made it 3-2 at the end of the first, and you combine it with how dominant Vegas has been in second periods in this Cup final? Could have been a completely different game. This really feels like a series where both teams are so effective at making their opponents uncomfortable that you're seeing so many uncharacteristic mistakes on both sides from really talented players. And it's becoming a series of who can limit their mistakes and egregious defensive errors and brutal turnovers best. And to some degree, hockey's always been a game of mistakes and limiting that. But in this series, especially so, because of how aggressive Carolina is on the forecheck. And I mean, throughout the series, we saw Jack Eichel in Game 1. East-west pass at the offensive blue line, turns it over, ends up in the back of the net. Rasmus Anderson, Game 2. Logan Stankoven steals his lunch money behind the net. We saw Shea Theodore. He's been so good in the series. A giveaway in the third period that directly led to a goal against. And then even on the Carolina side, where mistakes of a different nature, but mistakes nonetheless, where for the Hurricanes, a lot of it has been them making miscues with their execution in the offensive zone, whether it be with the puck or whether it be with their defensemen pinching in too aggressively. We've seen situations where the Keandre Miller-Sean Walker pair has been so effective for the Hurricanes, and yet in that second period, you dive in and it leads to rush offense the other way. Or in that Game 4, Seth Jarvis had a giveaway high in the zone that Vegas directly punished them on. So it almost feels like both teams are trading segments of the game where they're losing their nerve under pressure. And this is one of the biggest storylines that I'm tracking through the remainder of the series is who can calm their game down, eliminate the turnovers, still be aggressive, but without chasing and running all the way out of position. Because this has been a pretty brutal series for the goaltenders. Even through the first 40 minutes, yeah, Carolina outshot Vegas 23-12. But even with Vegas only having 12 shots, the number of grade A chances they had was through the roof. And the shot totals just don't quite capture how many scoring chances are happening at both ends of the ring.
Rich in Van City had a great comment. He said, "It's not great hockey, but it's great to watch." Like, it's been so entertaining. This is and again, I said I thought this was going to be a low-scoring series. I thought this was going to be pretty boring. I thought it was going to be clog the middle, and nobody gets to do any offense. That is certainly not what it's been in this series. Anything else you want to say about this? I want to have a conversation about Jackson Blake and economics.
Yeah, so other point I'd mention, Vegas is going to need Jack Eichel to get going, right? That second line has been carrying them. And we've spent so much time focusing on, well, the Sebastian Aho line has been pretty mediocre in the early going, and it's been Carolina's Hall, Blake, Stankoven line that's had to really drive the bus for them. Well, in this Cup final so far, only 2 points in 4 games for Jack Eichel. Outscored 5-2. Vegas has been with Eichel on the ice at 5-on-5. They need more from him, and you look at that game, right? He rings a shot off the crossbar, whiffs on some glorious chances in the third period. I think he could be one of the make or break players for how this series goes, because right now, I think Carolina will gladly take, all right, if Eichel stays cold, that means Aho and Eichel basically cancel each other out. And then it becomes a contest of which team's middle six can step up to the plate more. And really, that's been the story of the series is some nights you have the Marner line, unbelievable, unstoppable. And sure, they got on the board again last night. But then the Staal line has been heating up, and on top of that, you have the Hall line, which started slow but really bounced back in Game 4 of this series. So if you're Vegas, you need Eichel's line to get going. Otherwise, you're going to need Mitch Marner to keep putting the entire team on his back, which I don't doubt that he can continue to play well, but you're also going to have nights like he did last night where he still makes a great play on one of the goals, gets on the score sheet, but it's just not enough.
Trying to find updated Conn Smythe odds. Yeah, okay. So it's Mitch Marner's to lose. It's Mitch Marner's Conn Smythe to lose. Logan Stankoven is in second. Logan Stankoven and Taylor Hall tied for second here. But is it, Jacob? I think it was you that brought this up. That it feels like no matter who wins, it's going to be like a McDavid thing where Mitch Marner wins the Conn Smythe regardless.
I mean, a lot of people have brought that up. I'm wondering, where's Jordan Staal in those odds? Third,
not tied for 30. He is third, and then it's Jackson Blake with a big gap between him and Staal.
Because if Staal has like a couple more really good games and Carolina wins, it almost feels like hey, he's the veteran. He's been around for so long. Give him the Conn Smythe, even though someone else might actually, and someone else being Marner, or even potentially Stankoven. But like Staal to me feels like the one where it's like, oh, okay, you're going to reward a guy for his entire career because he finally won a Stanley. And I know he won the Stanley Cup in Pittsburgh back in the day, but I'm pretty sure I've seen this going around as well, that if he wins this year, it'll be the longest gap between Stanley Cup victories in a career. And to me, it almost feels like you reward that guy with a Conn Smythe, even though he's probably not the actual front runner for it. I could be wrong, but I could see that happening if he has one or two more big games and Carolina wins.
I can definitely see that being a possibility. I wouldn't want to see it just because the Conn Smythe's meant to be for the entire playoffs, not just the Cup final. And sure, if it was just a Cup final MVP, Staal for Carolina would undoubtedly be in that conversation. I think he's the first captain in NHL history to score in each of the first 4 games of a Cup final. But through the first 3 rounds, he was having a pretty ordinary postseason, right? And don't get me wrong, he plays an important defensive role in matchup minutes and whatnot, but through the first 3 rounds, he was not spectacular by any means. And so we'll see. I think if Marner keeps doing what he's been doing, producing in games where Vegas loses, I think it is still his to lose. And if not, if you have to pick someone for Carolina, I think it's getting hard to overlook. Stankoven's got 11 goals, and if he keeps producing or if Hall keeps getting on the score sheet, I would probably take one of those guys if I had to pick someone from Carolina.
All right, let's get to anyone else. Anyone else is a presentation of the Vancouver Canadians, who are back at the Nat just in time for the weather to turn around and get nice and sunny. I was there last night. That had to be close to a sellout. The Addison Barger bobblehead giveaway was hot. I got there at 6:04, and they were out already. I walked in, looking for my bobblehead. They were fresh out of bobbleheads. Those bobbleheads went fast. Always a great time at the Nat. They've got a fireworks night. I think it's like the second or third one of the year. Second, I believe. Tomorrow, Thursday, June 11th, fireworks, post-game fireworks at the Nat. You can head on down, get your tickets, enjoy the 75-cent hot dogs on Tuesday nights as well. And of course, the Nooners at the Nat Friday, Sunday. Nooners at the Nat, and of course, Everett in town right now. So get on down to the Nat to get your tickets. Call 604-872-5232 or check out CanadiansBaseball.com. Hey, shout out to the C's. Remember I told you I missed the giveaway for the first pennant? They hooked it up last night.
Oh, nice.
That's hell awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, they hooked it up with the first pennant that I missed. So now I've got the Vancouver Mounties one behind me and the Vancouver Capellanos. Capellanos, of course, from 1939 to 1954. Just beautiful. Just absolutely beautiful. Got my pennants here. They're probably not going to be on my set because I think I'm going to put them up around the office here. But yeah, shout out the C's, man. giveaways have been so hot this year. That you got the Nat replica there. Unbelievable giveaways all year long. Anyway, anyone else? Jackson Blake scores a goal last night. Fill in the blank, okay? Jackson Blake is a blank point scorer regularly. How would you describe him? We describe guys as 100-point players, 90-point players, 80-point players, and so on and so on and so on. Jackson Blake is a what player?
Are you talking moving forward, what he could grow into, or
no, moving forward? Like, what do you think he's going to do next year, the year after that?
I'd say 60 or so, 60 points.
I was gonna say 70. Maybe I'm a little more optimistic.
The only reason I pump the brakes on 70 is I don't like he's still playing power play too, and it's really hard to be a 70-point player plus unless you're PP1. So it's still possible, but he would need to take a jump that I'm not sure whether he's going to get that opportunity to actually be a full-time PP1 guy.
18 points in 17 games for Jackson Blake in these playoffs. And again, he's not going to be, he's not going to be a point per game guy in the regular season. We don't think. But let's say he's 60. Let's go with yours, right? Let's say he's 60. You got $40 million, which is great. But when you see Michael McCarron sign for 6 years at $3.3 million, do you think there's any part of him that's kind of thinking, man, I should have taken that? And more importantly, do you think agents are going to start advising these kids like, hey, don't let yourself get locked up long term by a team just because they're offering you some money? Like, let's get to free agency and let's see what else we could do. Because Dylan Larkin, like, on the other side of it, like, it doesn't really benefit anybody in the end, right? When you have a situation like Dylan Larkin where, oh yeah, we locked this player up, now he asks for a trade out. I just want to see more movement. Do you get where I'm going with this?
Sure. Well, I got the first half of it. I don't understand why you brought Larkin into it, right? Those are different situations. Larkin was UFA eligible when he signed that contract. This is Blake off of his rookie year.
Yeah.
Like signing a long-term deal a year before becoming an RFA. Like his extension doesn't kick in until next season. But
I just don't want to see guys get locked up so early. I don't want to see guys get locked up like this. And I know they're different. But anyways, continue. Let's talk about Blake.
It benefits the team, obviously, right? Another example, one that I'm sure his agent is kicking himself about, is Dylan Guenther, right? Dylan Guenther, $7.14 million cap it until 2033. The guy scored 40 goals this year. That's going to be, especially as the cap keeps creeping up, that is one of the best contracts in the NHL. But there's a give and take, right? Where for a player in Blake's shoes, right? He just came off of his rookie year. He scored 17 goals last year. But keep in mind, this isn't a guy that was drafted as a top 10 or 15 pick. He was a 4th round pick in 2021. Nobody expected Jackson Blake to develop the way that he currently has. And so if you're making this contract offer to him, where sure, the cap hit on paper looks low, but you're offering him 8 years and all that guaranteed money, what would that be? A little bit over 5 times 8 years, a little bit over 40 million. You're like, put yourself in the player's shoes. It'd be hard to look at that and say, 40 million guaranteed, I'm going to turn that down when I'm not this high pedigree guy that was expected to be a star. Like, what if you have a classic sophomore slump and then all of a sudden they go, you know what, we're not offering you a long-term deal anymore. We're going to bridge you and see what you are. So I understand what you're saying. And it takes, I think, a certain level of courage and bravery to bet on yourself. And sure, from a pure financial standpoint, some players should do that, but others, I think, benefit from just the peace of mind, the security. And at least the benefit for Blake is I know that I don't have to worry about finances for the rest of my life. Because sure, I could have held out and waited until this offseason to sign that contract, but you're talking about an upside of maybe an extra $1 million or $2 million per year. Like, yeah, that's meaningful, but at the time, you're weighing the pros and the cons, I can understand why a player in his shoes would take the deal. I think where players need to maybe show more courage is if you're like the Dylan Gunther types, where you are supposed to have that star upside and you are supposed to be a sure thing. And especially, I also think about Juraj Slafkovsky, $7.6 million. But this is also where the teams are also making are also taking a little bit of a risk in paying you before you've maybe hit your potential fully and realized it. Where I remember some people reacting to that Slafkovsky extension and going, oh, you're already paying him that much money. He hasn't really proven himself. He's a 50-point player. Like there was some risk in Montreal being early in committing so much money to Slafkovsky as well. Like that's just kind of the give and take. And I don't expect that to change, except at maybe the superstar level.
All right. I said we'd talk about it, so I want to talk about it. The offseason to-do list for the Canucks. Jeff Patterson wrote about that today over at CanucksArmy.com. He did 10 items on the Canucks offseason to-do list. Harm, I'm going to rattle these off to you, and you give me your top 3. All right? J-Pat's list. Round out the bench staff, address the openings in Abbotsford, be one of the big winners at the draft, put the future on full display, and again, he's talking about dev camp there, finalize your main training camp details, develop a goaltending plan, decide what you want to do with EP40, move out at least one veteran, close the deal on the practice facility, show off those new threads. I'll give you my top 3. You tell me if you agree, disagree. Number 1 is be one of the big winners at the draft. When Stephen Ellis writes his piece, and Matt Larkin writes their pieces over at dailyfaceoff.com about league-wide winners of the draft, I want to see the Vancouver Canucks near the top of that. I want them to knock the 3rd overall pick out of the park. I want them to get value that surprises everyone with their 2nd round picks, with their 2nd first round pick. I want them to be the team that people look at and say, wow, that was a great showing of the draft. That's number 1 for me. Okay. Number 2 is decide what you want to do with Elias Pettersson. Again, I've been talking about this for a while, and they've talked the talk, especially about culture and about nobody's above anybody, all the sort of stuff that they've said already. Have a real conversation with Elias Pettersson. Like, have the real conversation, the hard conversations with Elias Pettersson. And at least, and I'm not saying you have to do it this offseason, but like, have an idea of which way you're leaning going into the season. I don't want anybody to be surprised on November 1st and then they change their course of what they were thinking. You don't have to do it right away, but have an idea of what you're going to do with Elias Pettersson. I think have that hard conversation with each other, have it with Elias Pettersson, figure out what you're going to do. And then the last one is move out at least one veteran to make some room for some young guys. I wrote about today over at CA, 3 players the Canucks need to provide ample opportunity for in 26-27. 2 of those guys, Atu Ratu, Jonathan Lekkerimäki. Like, they've got more than enough wingers, but I want to see Jonathan Lekkerimäki have like a clear path to playing in the middle 6. So those are my top 3 from Jeff's list. What's yours?
Those were my exact same top 3. So to avoid being redundant, I'll also say the bench point is like filling out the rest of Manny's staff is going to be important, because this is a coaching staff that is actually going to have some runway. There is no immediate pressure to win. And so whoever you hire now, especially after ownership footing the bill, no pun intended, on Adam Foote and firing all the assistants as well, whoever you hire for the rest of your staff is going to be here for a while. And those are going to be some of your most important development years, not only for your young defensemen, but you think ahead to Braden Coots and whoever you draft 3rd overall, not this season, but the year after. That coaching staff is going to be working closely with them. And it was really interesting hearing Manny during his introductory press conference speaking about what he's looking for in assistants. And one of the best points he made was he wants to hire somebody who's not only really excited about teaching young players, but also is a student of the game themselves and is trying to improve their own craft as a coach. To not be so rigid in their own ways in terms of, this is how I coach. You take it or you leave it. Kind of like the John Tortorella when he was in Philly towards the end there. Like, I'm not going to change the way I do things. You want somebody that's malleable, that is going to be able to grow with your young players. And I think it's really important to nail those hires, especially whoever you hire to specifically be the assistant that works with your defenseman. Because again, that's where for next season,
so true,
development is massive. It's critical.
Yeah. Also, I mentioned it, but the piece I wrote at CA, 3 players the Canucks need to provide ample opportunity for in 26-27. I talked a lot about Steve Bouillon in that article. Aatu Ratu was the other one, and then Jonathan Lekkerimäki as well. And again, I went back and listened to our interview with Manny from February 2025, and what he talked about with Lekkerimäki was the way he's finding success was getting to the middle of the ice, and Manny was so just admiring so much about Lekkerimäki's ability to get to the middle of the ice, and it feels like he's kind of gotten away from that at the NHL level. So you hope that a big offseason, right? You hope that a big offseason for Lekkerimäki is what's happening right now, and that he comes in, ready to face that pressure next year. All right, anything you want to add? We'll get to Bet365 and get out of here.
Nope, I'm good.
All right, tonight you got the NBA Finals, which I'm watching. I'm watching a lot of the NBA Finals. Harm, last time I told everybody to take Spurs money line, and what happened? The San Antonio Spurs came to play. Crime rate shot right back up in New York. That was a fun 3 days that lasted. The San Antonio Spurs are once again road underdogs by even wider margins tonight. I am taking them once again. I am taking the San Antonio Spurs to even up the series with 2 road victories, just like the Knicks got 2 road victories to open the series. I'm going to say Spurs go back-to-back here. I think Wemby's found a bit of a groove. I think the Spurs take this one tonight. You can get Spurs money line tonight at plus 115 odds over at Bet365. Every sports fan will tell you that not all games are created equal. Sometimes the excitement just isn't there. Sometimes you get a dud. It happens. But at Bet365, boring games are a thing of the past. Now there's always a reason to tune in, even if the score isn't one of them. And while they can't make every game exciting, they can help fans get excited about every game. Bet365, download the app today. Must be 19 or older. Please play responsibly. You like my pick, Harm? I'm a big basketball guy now.
Yeah, I'm surprised, honestly, at how invested you've become. I didn't expect this. This is similar to my transition from a baseball hater to, okay, I'll tolerate baseball, to now I at least really enjoy playing it. For you, I'm curious what that evolution looks like, whether this fandom will die as soon as the NBA Finals are over, or whether the NBA can count on you as a regular supporter.
No, they have their dumb little in-season tournament. I'm not going to be a fan of this. Like, who for $20, who won the NBA Cup or whatever it's called? Anybody? Nobody knows? Jacob's Googling it. Nobody knows.
Lakers?
I think the Lakers won it last year.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody knows or gives a crap. Okay, you're watering down your product. Just, anyways, I'm not gonna be watching the NBA regular season. You can take that to the bank. There's no way. This series is fun. This isn't regular season basketball.
Okay, hold on. I need to jump in. The NBA Cup final was the Knicks and Spurs.
Oh, no way.
The Knicks won the NBA Cup over the Spurs. So
that's so funny that like hasn't been a part of anyone's analysis for the NBA final.
That just proved your point entirely, Quads. That the in-season tournament had the same 2 teams in the final, and not a single person has said a word about it.
Oh man. Yeah. So no Harm. This will not translate to me watching regular season basketball. Like it just won't. I don't know. I don't like watching a game.
So we're not going to get this. So we're not going to get
a big what?
So we're not going to get a big go Wemby go ahead of next year's NBA Cup in November.
No, not the NBA Cup. Is it actually in November? Or did you just make that up? Well, either way,
I'm guessing.
In November into December. Yeah.
Okay. awesome time for that to happen. Anyways, imagine this, okay? It's Hockey Night in Canada. Oh my gosh. The Oilers are taking on the Avalanche. What a game. And then instead of watching Nate McKinnon and Connor McDavid go at it, Nate McKinnon's on the bench in some stupid suit that he walked in, and he's got those 3D glasses that you used to get at the theater as a kid, and you could pop out the lenses, and they were nerd glasses. Yeah. He's wearing those, okay? And he's wearing some stupid suit, and he's sitting on the bench, but he's not playing. He's just sitting on the bench. And Connor McDavid, by the way, exact same thing. Actually, Connor McDavid's wearing an orange cape. He walked in with an orange cape, and he's also not playing, and he's just sitting on the bench. That's the NBA regular season for me. It infuriates me. It gets me so annoyed. All this load management bullcrap. If you got to manage your load, stay home. Hot take. Write that down. Put that on a throw pillow. If you gotta manage your load, if you gotta manage your load, you stay home. You don't come to the rink. At best, you can stay in the press box. You can sit up in the press box. No cameras on you. You don't want to be a part of the game? No camera on you. No, we don't need the story of, oh, he woke up and, felt a little stiff, so he's not playing tonight. People pay hundreds of dollars to come watch you play. And I know this is an old argument and people have talked about it a lot, but I don't like the load management stuff. I really don't. So anyway, I don't know how we got down that path, but
someone's going to clip that out of context, and I feel really bad for you.
I doubled down and said it again. Yeah, that was crazy.
I welcome it.
You welcome it.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah. Anyway.
Sorry, I was going to say though, so Quads, you're not going to follow in Harmon's footsteps here and like pull up to the YMCA in your in your brand new Nikes and a sweatband and a shooting sleeve and start playing pickup basketball?
What am I missing here? Did Harmon do that?
Harmon's playing baseball now. So next year, you're going to pull up to the YMCA. You got the shooting sleeve on, the headband, the fresh Nikes, Dude,
I'm not going to lie. I used to play ball. I used to ball. Like, I played high school basketball. I didn't play much, but I did. And I could shoot. I could drain threes.
The short white
shoot
kid
threes
could shoot.
And be nice to the refs.
Yeah. Shoot threes and be nice to the refs.
Dude, I boxed out hard as hell. Anyway. I'll stop
Austin Reeves.
About this. That's right. I actually know who that is too. All right. We already did Bet365, so I think it's time to close it out. For my co-host Harmon Dial and our technical producer Jacob Azar, my name is Dave Quadrelli. Thanks so much to episode of Canucks Conversation.
Canucks Conversation is live Monday through Friday, every weekday at 2 p.m. over on the Canucks Army YouTube channel. Make sure you like,